The girl, dressed in designer brands, walked into the school and immediately caught the attention of many classmates. It turned out that she came from a wealthy family, receiving a daily allowance of 300,000. She also had millions of followers on social media, and even a casual selfie would garner countless likes. Her outfits were often imitated by her classmates. As soon as So-hyun, the main character, entered the classroom, her classmates warmly greeted her, but she maintained a cold demeanor. She noticed a girl sitting at her desk. The girl quickly realized and stood up to leave, but So-hyun stopped her, saying, "You should at least greet me." Reluctantly, the girl wiped the desk before walking away. However, behind the scenes, this girl was extremely jealous of So-hyun and deliberately spread rumors to tarnish her reputation. Although So-hyun heard many such rumors, she chose to ignore them. One day, through private messages from fans, So-hyun discovered that someone had been using her photos to run a social media account, attracting a large following. Coincidentally, at that moment, the girl was proudly showing off to classmates how she had used So-hyun's photos to attract a great boyfriend. But soon after, she was bombarded with private messages from netizens criticizing her. So-hyun had made a public post clarifying that the account was fake. Just then, So-hyun happened to walk by, and the girl furiously stopped her, demanding to know why she exposed her. So-hyun simply repeated what her fans had said and turned to leave. Enraged, the girl grabbed So-hyun's hand, accidentally knocking her phone to the ground. This finally angered So-hyun. She picked up the girl's phone and smashed it on the ground before picking up her own and walking away without looking back. Meanwhile, the male lead, Woo-jae, was also incredibly popular. He was the head of the school's broadcasting club and a perfectionist who demanded excellence in everything he did. His good looks attracted many girls to join the broadcasting club, hoping to get closer to him. Not long ago, a female host from the club confessed to him, but he ruthlessly rejected her and even expelled her from the club. Since the broadcasting club was now short-staffed, they urgently needed a replacement. Someone suggested So-hyun for the role because of her massive online popularity, making her a perfect fit. Woo-jae personally sought her out to invite her to join the club. Later, on the bus, So-hyun fell asleep. Woo-jae next to her reached over to close the window. Startled, the girl woke up and instinctively leaned back. Their eyes met for a moment. It turned out that Woo-jae had called her several times with no response, so he had to close the window himself. But soon after, So-hyun reopened the window, clearly indicating some tension between them. It turned out that the day before, Woo-jae had invited So-hyun to join the broadcasting club, but she had bluntly refused. Unhappy with her attitude, Woo-jae mocked her, but So-hyun wasn't one to back down. She fired back with sarcastic remarks of her own. And so, their uneasy relationship continued. Both sides left on bad terms. That day, So-hyun was leaning against a tree, listening to the radio, when she suddenly heard a story that seemed to be related to her past experiences. Wanting to find out more about its origins, she decided to go to the broadcasting club for an interview. As she arrived, she casually sat down to observe. Woo-jae, still remembering how she had rejected his invitation the day before, immediately told her that the interview was already over. However, another club member stepped in to help So-hyun, pointing out that the interview period hadn't officially ended. Left with no choice, So-hyun proceeded with the interview. Thanks to her impressive skills, So-hyun quickly passed. She then asked about the person who had submitted the story she heard earlier, but Woo-jae told her that it was an anonymous submission and had to be kept confidential. On her first day at work, So-hyun was late, which infuriated Woo-jae, who was extremely strict about time. Seeing her indifferent attitude, he directly told her to leave the club. However, determined to uncover the identity of the anonymous writer, So-hyun reluctantly apologized and promised to never be late again. In response, Woo-jae punished her by making her clean the clubroom. Some classmates were confused. She could have joined any other club and done nothing, yet she chose the broadcasting club and ended up cleaning. Having never done chores before, So-hyun half-heartedly mopped the floor while playing music and doodling on the ground. Just then, Woo-jae walked in, and she accidentally spilled water on his shoes. That evening, on her way home, So-hyun ran into her former best friend, Ji, who called out to her, saying she could tell her who submitted the story. However, So-hyun coldly told her to stay out of her business and to pretend they didn't know each other from now on. Once inseparable, they now had to act like strangers. What had happened between them? Later, So-hyun continued cleaning at the broadcasting club, using an unexpectedly stylish spinning move with the mop. Determined to access the club's submission account to find out who had submitted the story, she pretended to need it for learning purposes and asked Woo-jae for the login. Woo-jae replied that it would depend on her performance. To earn his trust, So-hyun started arriving early every day to clean. Over time, Woo-jae began to warm up to her, even joining her in taking photos. However, he soon discovered that So-hyun wasn't actually the one cleaning. It was a classmate she had paid to do it. Meanwhile, the girl who had stolen So-hyun's photos was too embarrassed to return to school after being exposed. Then, a stranger sent her a message containing details about So-hyun's past, prompting her to post online that So-hyun had borrowed her account a year ago and that everything had been orchestrated by So-hyun. So-hyun, however, acted indifferent to the rumors. But when she read the last sentence of the post, a terrifying memory suddenly surfaced in her mind. Soon after, another story related to her was broadcasted. This time, she was furious. Storming into the broadcasting room, she kicked the desk over, leaving everyone in shock. Because of this incident, Woo Jae was also reprimanded by the teacher. Later, So-hyun confronted Ji, demanding to know if she had submitted the story. Jae simply responded, "Apologize first, because of what you did. Everyone was going to be punished because of So-hyun's outburst, so she apologized to her classmates." Then, she turned to Ji and asked, "Now can you tell me?" But instead of giving a clear answer, she remained cryptic. The conversation took an odd turn. Meanwhile, negative and sarcastic comments flooded the broadcast's comment section. At the same time, Woo Jae's perception of So-hyun began to change. He realized that her cold and aloof attitude wasn't arrogance. It was her way of protecting herself. That night, So-hyun walked home alone when she suddenly heard faint footsteps behind her. She had the unsettling feeling that someone was following her, so she quickened her pace. As it turned out, the person behind her was Woo Jae. They lived in the same neighborhood. The two, who had been bickering earlier, now walked home together, both feeling a little awkward. Woo Jae deliberately slowed his pace to walk behind her, but So-hyun wasn't comfortable with someone following her. "Walk ahead of me," she insisted. Just before they reached home, Woo Jae suddenly asked, "Aren't you tired of living like this every day?" So-hyun assumed he was just trying to pick another fight. But instead, Woo Jae unexpectedly apologized for their previous argument. "Did what I said before hurt you?" he asked. So-hyun, unfazed, replied that she didn't care. Compared to all the criticism she had received in the past, this was nothing. With that, their tension eased, and they ended up sitting and chatting together. At that moment, So-hyun noticed that she had stepped on some gum. Woo Jae reached for a tissue to help, but before he could, So-hyun grabbed her beloved bookmark and used it to scrape off the gum, only to accidentally break it in half. The next day, So-hyun returned to the broadcasting club as usual. Woo Jae, despite everything, gave her access to the club's account. Excited, she logged in and checked the information on the story submissions. However, there were no direct clues, except for one discovery. The account was friends with Jae. This immediately made her recall Jae's tone when he read the story aloud on the broadcast. Could it be her? But at the same time, she struggled to believe it. She knew Jae well, or at least she thought she did. Back in middle school, they had met because they were both late one day, and they quickly became best friends. But after So-hyun went through some kind of personal hardship, she suddenly began to distance herself from Jae. That evening, after school, So-hyun and Woo Jae went to buy a new bookmark to replace the one she broke. Before heading home, Woo Jae received a message from his father, but he didn't want to go back just yet. Avoiding his family, he invited So-hyun to grab a quick meal instead. They ended up sitting by the roadside. The next morning, So-hyun overslept and skipped school. While sitting outside, scrolling through her phone, she suddenly received a message from the anonymous story submitter. The message revealed that the sender knew her true identity. Shocked, So-hyun scrolled through the conversation history, trying to find any clue about who it was. So-hyun happened to run into Ji. Since their relationship wasn't good, Ji turned to leave but was stopped by So-hyun, who questioned her about the anonymous account. Ji, however, claimed she had no idea what So-hyun was talking about and got angry at being accused. Later, Ji explained to Woo Jae that she didn't get along with So-hyun and didn't want to work with him in the broadcasting club. Left with no choice, Woo Jae took on the responsibility himself, guiding So-hyun through the equipment and insisting that she memorize everything. There would be a test later. Hearing this, So-hyun immediately wanted to quit, but before she could react, Woo Jae suddenly leaned in close, leaving her completely stunned. From that moment on, So-hyun didn't hear a word Woo Jae was saying. One day, So-hyun was so exhausted from studying that she fell asleep in the broadcasting room. When Woo Jae walked in and saw her sleeping, he couldn't help but admire her. Seeing that the sunlight was too bright, Woo Jae took off his uniform jacket and hung it over the window to block the light. So-hyun suddenly woke up and noticed what Woo Jae had done, making her heart race. But when Woo Jae turned around, So-hyun quickly pretended she had just woken up. Then came the test. After relentless studying, So-hyun finally scored full marks. That weekend, a friend invited So-hyun to dinner. Through a photo, she saw that Ji was also there, reminding her of their recent fight. Feeling awkward, she decided not to go. Meanwhile, her friends, noticing her absence, mentioned how she often ate alone because her parents were always busy. Woo Jae, overhearing this, made an excuse to leave early, only to secretly invite So-hyun to dinner instead. When you like someone, you'll find all kinds of excuses to see them. During the meal, Woo Jae noticed a smudge of lipstick on So-hyun's hand. Without hesitation, he gently took his hand and wiped it off with a napkin, sending a shiver down So-hyun's spine. Woo Jae then told her that he had always suspected So-hyun had a reason for joining the broadcasting club. He hoped that if So-hyun had something on her mind, she would share it with him. Just as they were about to part ways, So-hyun suddenly received a threatening message from the mysterious sender. Seeing the message, she immediately wanted to tell Woo Jae and ran after him, grabbing his arm, but in the end, she couldn't find the courage to speak. Maybe everyone just wants to appear perfect in front of the person they like. That morning, So-hyun's parents prepared a whole table of food. It turned out today was her birthday. Her mom even made a cake, but she still wasn't happy. She told her she never really liked these things. Before she could say more, her mother's phone rang, and she hurried off, leaving her alone in the house. On the way to school, So-hyun ran into Ji on the bus. She overheard some people talking about Ji behind her back. Unable to take it, she spoke up and defended her. Ji heard everything. Their eyes met, but neither said a word. Later, at the student council meeting, someone made sarcastic remarks about So-hyun, but she didn't hold back either. To prove her abilities, So-hyun decided to take on the role of hosting a segment at the school anniversary event. After the meeting, Woo-jae told So-hyun to start a live broadcast at noon to help her practice his hosting skills. During class, the mysterious person sent another message, mocking So-hyun and accusing her of taking on the event segment just to gain more attention. This message suddenly made So-hyun realize something. How did this person know about it? That could only mean they had been at the meeting too. So-hyun immediately questioned the sender, but they played dumb. At noon, So-hyun did her first live broadcast. Just as it was about to end, she suddenly went off script, tossed her script aside, and started sharing her own thoughts. This shocked both Woo-jae and Ji, who were present, but unexpectedly, BR's speech resonated with her classmates, earning her their support. Even the teachers were interested in submitting their own contributions. Hearing all the positive feedback, Woo-jae felt genuinely happy for So-hyun. After school, Woo-jae called So-hyun to the broadcasting room to test the sound system. It was So-hyun's first time using a walkie-talkie, and she found it amusing, so she started playing around with it. During their conversation, So-hyun asked why Woo-jae hadn't scolded her for improvising during the broadcast. Woo-jae, who always followed the plan, had actually agreed with So-hyun's perspective. After they finished testing the equipment, Woo-jae simply said, "Thank you." But the way he said it felt almost like a confession. Then, Woo-jae told So-hyun that he had prepared a birthday gift for her. When So-hyun took it out, she saw that it was a bottle of fragrant stones. However, this gift triggered an unpleasant memory. On his birthday years ago, someone had pranked him by spraying perfume all over him. The memory made her feel short of breath. Desperate to open a window, she struggled but couldn't get it to budge. Just as she was about to lose hope, the window was suddenly opened. Gasping for air, she heard Woo-jae calling her name, bringing her back to reality. One day, while organizing files, Woo-jae accidentally found a video of So-hyun singing. Watching the silly yet adorable So-hyun in the video, Woo-jae couldn't help but smile knowingly. Early the next morning, So-hyun arrived at school. As soon as she walked through the entrance, a classmate called her over and asked him to write down a movie she wanted to watch and stick it on the wish tree. Just as she was placing his wish, a boy suddenly appeared behind her. Startled, So-hyun instinctively leaned back and almost fell, but Woo-jae caught her just in time. At that moment, the air felt sweet with warmth. To break the tension, So-hyun quickly changed the subject. With the school anniversary event approaching, Woo-jae assigned everyone their tasks. A classmate suggested that they all say a cheer together. Everyone put their hands in, but So-hyun hesitated. Woo-jae, however, grabbed her hand and placed it on top of the others. Together, they shouted, "Let's do our best." Later, the students gathered in the auditorium, preparing for their respective duties before the rehearsal began. Everything went smoothly, and So-hyun and Woo-jae's relationship grew even closer. After the rehearsal, the group discussed the day's progress. Ji mentioned that she needed to go to the supermarket for supplies but was short on help. The others were busy with their own tasks. So, one by one, they all turned to look at So-hyun. Despite their rocky relationship, So-hyun and Ji ended up going to the supermarket together. The atmosphere was awkward. They barely exchanged a few words before bringing up past grievances, leading to yet another argument. They parted ways on bad terms. After shopping, So-hyun returned to the broadcasting room and found that Woo-jae hadn't gone home yet. It turned out that some lost footage needed to be res-hot on the rooftop. So-hyun decided to go with him. Noticing that So-hyun wasn't dressed warmly enough for the chilly night, Woo-jae gently draped his jacket over her. Together, they went up to the rooftop, taking photos, listening to music, chatting, and enjoying the breeze. Later, as they walked home together, Woo-jae suddenly said, "If I live with you, I'm willing to be quiet, but you refuse to be." So-hyun was confused. "What do you mean? I like you, White Fox." The unexpected confession left So-hyun completely stunned. The next day, Woo-jae was busy organizing tasks for the students when So-hyun arrived. However, Woo-jae spoke to her with a serious expression, making So-hyun a little uneasy. Her mind flashed back to Woo-jae's confession from the night before. Right before the final rehearsal, Woo-jae asked So-hyun to grab a USB drive. But when she checked his bag, it was gone. After searching for a while, she finally spotted it on the ground. "Wait for me, I'll come find you." So-hyun looked at Woo-jae's stern face, feeling a little annoyed. Was this really the same person who confessed to him yesterday? At lunch, however, Woo-jae showed his usual caring side. So-hyun couldn't hold back anymore and blurted out, Is liking someone supposed to be exciting? Woo Jae replied calmly, liking someone also means accepting their flaws. That was when So Hyun finally understood. Woo Jae was someone who separated work and personal feelings completely. Later, as they walked to the festival venue, they passed by the announcement board and saw a note with Woo Jae's movie wish from the day before. So they decided to watch it together. During the movie, Woo Jae casually mentioned, "I've seen this film at least 10 times. So Hyun looked unimpressed. Woo Jae leaned closer to her ear and whispered the next line from the movie. Then, "Do you like me?" The words made So Hyun's heart race, until she saw the actual dialogue on screen and realized it was just a line from the film. The live broadcast was about to begin. So Hyun, a popular online streamer, instantly met with enthusiastic cheers from the audience. As the live stream officially began, viewers eagerly picked up their phones to watch. So Hyun read out submissions from her audience, sharing her thoughts on each story, and her genuine responses won her widespread praise. During an interactive segment, she started responding to live comments when a question popped up on the screen. "Do you have someone special?" So Hyun hesitated. Her eyes instinctively found Woo Jae's in the crowd. Their gazes locked, and for a brief moment, both of them felt a hint of shyness. Just as they were lost in the moment, something unexpected happened. A strange countdown appeared in the live chat. When it hit 0, every audience member received an anonymous message on their phone. The chat was suddenly flooded with cold, sarcastic comments. Confused, So Hyun clicked on a link that appeared. A single photo loaded on her screen. At that instant, old memories came rushing back, painful ones. A shocking accusation broke out online. So Hyun was being exposed for allegedly bullying a classmate in the past. The festival's cheerful atmosphere shifted instantly. Ji, realizing something was wrong, quickly instructed someone to cut the lights. So Hyun felt her chest tighten. She was struggling to breathe. Before he could make it off the stage, her knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the floor. The audience, instead of helping, raised their phones. Suddenly, Woo Jae rushed onto the stage. He grabbed So Hyun's arm and quickly led her out of the venue. Once outside, So Hyun, still shaken, whispered, "I want to be alone." Woo Jae hesitated but eventually let go. On the way home, So Hyun scrolled through the flood of comments mocking her. Her fingers trembled as she recalled the humiliation she had just experienced. Tears streamed down her face. The next day, So Hyun didn't show up at school. Students whispered about her in the hallways. Her friends, overhearing the gossip, couldn't take it anymore and got into an argument with their classmates. In the heat of the moment, someone's pen was knocked to the ground. Just then, So Hyun appeared. She didn't acknowledge the commotion. Instead, she walked straight past them and headed toward the broadcasting room, as if nothing had happened. Minutes later, her voice echoed through the speakers. Everyone was caught off guard. So Hyun was broadcasting again? Her friends felt relieved. But then a student muttered, "She's just shameless." After the broadcast, the students gathered for a meeting. Woo Jae was assigning tasks when So Hyun spoke up. "I'll handle cleaning up the auditorium by myself." Woo Jae glanced at her for a moment, then nodded in agreement. During class, So Hyun's mind wandered back to the morning. The real reason she was late wasn't because she had overslept. She had gone to meet someone, a former classmate from middle school, the very person who had bullied her. That classmate had come looking for So Hyun, not out of remorse, but because her face had appeared in the leaked photos, dragging her into the controversy as well. She taunted So Hyun, saying, "You still don't have the guts to tell the truth, huh?" But So Hyun wasn't silent because she was guilty. Ah-hae was silent because she didn't want people to see the side of her that had once been weak. Meanwhile, Woo Jae was retrieving some equipment when Ji pulled him aside. "Are you sure it's okay to let So Hyun clean the entire auditorium alone?" That single question made Woo Jae pause. And in that moment, So Hyun arrived at the auditorium, where 2 female classmates greeted him, deliberately bringing up the previous day's incident. Unwilling to tolerate their provocation, she responded, refusing to back down. Woo Jae, who had just arrived, witnessed the exchange. As soon as So Hyun walked away, her composed facade crumbled, and she broke down in tears. Woo Jae, however, chose not to approach her, knowing that So Hyun didn't want others to see her weak side. That evening, Woo Jae called her, intending to comfort her, but he struggled to find the right words. Instead, they ended up chatting about random, unrelated topics. Surprisingly, So Hyun didn't find it boring. Wanting to ease the tension further, Woo Jae invited her to watch a movie together, and So Hyun gladly accepted. They met in the broadcasting room screening area and started watching the film. As the story progressed, So Hyun commented on the female lead, saying that if she had never revealed her secret, perhaps she wouldn't have ended up so miserable. Her words struck a chord with Woo Jae, making him think about So Hyun's own situation. Without saying much, they continued watching until both of them eventually fell asleep. The next morning, the sunlight streamed through the window. So Hyun woke up to find Woo Jae fast asleep. She gazed at him for a long moment, then noticed the sunlight was shining too brightly on Woo Jae's face. Gently, she reached over to block the light with her hand. Just then, Woo Jae stirred awake and caught So Hyun's hand. Their eyes met, lingering for a moment before So Hyun quickly pulled away. The following day, during a broadcasting club meeting, Woo-jae accidentally exposed his injured leg. His classmates immediately noticed and started speculating about why the two of them had spent the weekend together. After the meeting, Ji, who refused to believe the rumors, stopped So-hyun and asked her directly what had happened. She also questioned whether the reason for their past argument was connected to all of this. However, So-hyun remained silent. Later, while organizing documents, Ji received an email from a friend. Curious, she opened the attached video and was shocked to see a recording of Hyrim, a broadcasting club member, deliberately throwing So-hyun's USB drive onto the ground. So-hyun recalled how, on the day of the school festival, So-hyun had been scolded by Woo-jae over the missing drive. It also reminded her of how Hyrim had secretly checked the security footage a while back. Just as she was piecing everything together, Hyrim walked into the room. Ji was about to confront her when So-hyun entered as well, laughing and chatting with Hyrim as if nothing was wrong. Watching this scene, Ji couldn't believe how two-faced Hyrim really was. The school organized an outdoor recording activity. Ji noticed Hyrim taking a group photo with some classmates and immediately stepped in, offering to take the picture for them. While adjusting the camera, she deliberately pressed the wrong button, prompting Hyrim to impatiently give her phone's password to unlock it. When Hyrim stepped away for a moment, Ji seized the opportunity to sneak away with the phone. She used the password to access Hyrim's files. As soon as she opened the gallery, her heart sank. There were countless photos of So-hyun being bullied. It was now undeniable. Hyrim was both the anonymous whistleblower who had submitted the story to the radio club. Realizing her phone was missing, Hyrim frantically searched for it. When she finally found it, she was horrified to see that all the incriminating photos had been deleted. At that moment, she also received a message asking her to meet up. Upon arriving at the designated location, she discovered that the person who had taken his phone was none other than Jae. Furious, Hyrim demanded to know why Ji was meddling in her business. Without hesitation, Ji exposed all of Hyrim's actions. Realizing there was no way to keep her secret anymore, Hyrim admitted everything. She explained that back in middle school, she and So-hyun were in the same class for an entire year. Yet So-hyun had always ignored her. This indifference made her angry, leading her to seek revenge. However, she also clarified that So-hyun was actually the victim of bullying, not the perpetrator. She had personally witnessed So-hyun being tormented and had taken photos of those moments. Watching So-hyun suffer had left a deep impression on her, which was why she recorded everything. Even now, despite being falsely accused of being a bully, So-hyun refused to admit the truth. Hearing this, Jae finally understood why So-hyun had always kept her distance from her. It was because she never wanted anyone, especially a close friend, to see her in such a vulnerable state. Jae recalled that, in the past, she had seen unpleasant messages on So-hyun's phone but had never realized what she was going through. Now that the truth had become clear, she felt a pang of guilt and sorrow. The next day, when she encountered So-hyun, she pretended nothing had happened. She wanted to tell So-hyun everything but held back, knowing that So-hyun's pride wouldn't allow her to handle such an exposure. In the end, Ji and Hyrim made a deal to keep the truth hidden, with Jae warning Hyrim never to harm So-hyun again. Later, So-hyun's expression darkened upon seeing something, and she hastily left. Before she could go far, Woo-jae called out to her, stopping her momentarily. Shortly after, Ji discovered that Hyrim had made a new post online, which infuriated her. She repeatedly tried calling Hyrim, but her calls went unanswered. Meanwhile, So-hyun confronted Hyrim in person. As it turned out, So-hyun had already suspected Hyrim for some time based on various pieces of evidence. However, instead of reacting with fear, Hyrim sneered at her, mocking the way she had looked so pitiful back then. To make matters worse, she deliberately mentioned that Ji had also been aware of the truth. At that moment, Ji appeared. When So-hyun saw her, she immediately questioned why she was there. Ji quickly explained that she had only recently found out the full truth and that she was genuinely concerned about her. However, So-hyun, whose pride had already been deeply wounded, refused to listen to any explanation. She turned and walked away. Ji ran after her, calling out and telling her that after learning the truth, she had felt incredibly guilty and had spent the whole night feeling miserable. But in the end, she had chosen to pretend she didn't know, because she knew So-hyun wouldn't want anyone to acknowledge it. So-hyun, however, simply responded that Ji should continue pretending she knew nothing and that she didn't need her sympathy. Those words deeply hurt Jae. The next morning, she went to Hyrim's classroom, only to find that Hyrim was nowhere to be seen. She sent Hyrim a message, asking where she was, and received a reply saying that she was in the broadcasting club, about to reveal something to Woo-jae. Upon reading the message, So-hyun immediately rushed to the broadcasting room. So-hyun thought Hyrim had told Woo-jae everything, so the moment she entered the room, she angrily reprimanded her. However, Hyrim put on a pitiful act, hoping to make Woo-jae misunderstand So-hyun. Seeing the situation escalate, Woo-jae couldn't stand it anymore and intervened, explaining that he and Hyrim had only been discussing work. She then scolded So-hyun for her constant absence over the weekend before asking Hyrim to leave. Afterward, Woo-jae questioned So-hyun about why she had been avoiding everyone. So-hyun, unwilling to answer, Then, she quickly left and caught up with Hiram, dragging her into an empty classroom. There, she demanded to know what Hiram was trying to do. Hiram finally revealed her true feelings. She had started all of this because So-hyun had ignored her first. Back in school, she had once approached So-hyun to greet her, but So-hyun had coldly ignored her in front of their classmates, which led to Hiram being mocked and isolated. From that day on, Hiram saw So-hyun as a hypocrite. Now, she wanted Xiaolang to experience what it felt like to be abandoned. She ordered So-hyun to quit the broadcasting club and distance herself from her friends, making her taste the pain of isolation. As if that weren't enough, Hiram then threatened her, claiming that she had a video on her phone. If So-hyun refused to comply, she would make the footage public. So-hyun found herself at a loss for what to do. Meanwhile, her friends were worried because they couldn't reach her. Ji went to Woo-jae and informed her that So-hyun had disappeared, but Woo-jae remained calm, saying he was simply waiting for So-hyun to come to him and reveal the truth herself. Ji, noticing the sorrow in Woo-jae's expression, reassured him that So-hyun would eventually tell him everything. At that moment, So-hyun was hiding nearby, watching the messages of concern her friends were sending in the group chat. She wanted so badly to reply, yet because of Hiram's threats, she felt she had no choice but to silently withdraw from the broadcasting club and distance herself from her friends. On the other side, the broadcasting club's routine meeting began. Woo-jae glanced at So-hyun's empty seat, feeling strangely uneasy. Hiram, pretending to be casual, asked about So-hyun's work, but Woo-jae calmly responded that he had given So-hyun another assignment and had no intention of making her leave. This answer visibly displeased Hiram. At that moment, a classmate suddenly noticed that So-hyun had exited the broadcasting club's group chat. Woo-jae received a message from So-hyun. The moment he saw the content, he immediately got up and left to find her. On his way, Hiram stopped him and revealed that So-hyun had only joined the broadcasting club to uncover the identity of the person who had been submitting certain stories. Then, Hiram confessed that she was the one who had written both of those stories. She claimed that she had been bullied by So-hyun in the past and had lived in its shadow ever since. Seeing So-hyun now living her life as if nothing had happened filled her with rage, which was why she wrote those stories, to vent her resentment. Hearing Hiram's words, Ens couldn't help but recall the past. So-hyun had asked about the broadcasting club's account multiple times, which made Hiram begin to suspect her. Meanwhile, So-hyun returned to the classroom to pack her things and go home. That night, So-hyun received a message from Woo-jae, saying that he had been waiting downstairs for her. Without a second thought, So-hyun ran down to meet him. When they finally stood face to face, Woo-jae told So-hyun that he had been waiting for her to tell the truth all along. He also confessed that he was afraid the online rumors might be true. Hearing this, So-hyun felt a sting of betrayal. Woo-jae didn't believe her either. She coldly told Woo-jae to stop waiting and added that being labeled as the perpetrator was easier than being the victim. Disappointed, Woo-jae said that he regretted ever falling for So-hyun and agreed to let her leave the broadcasting club. As Woo-jae walked away, So-hyun watched his retreating figure, unable to hold back her tears. The next day, Woo-jae officially announced that So-hyun had withdrawn from the broadcasting club. Meanwhile, Hiram continued to play the victim in front of their classmates, manipulating them into believing that So-hyun had truly bullied her. After the argument with So-hyun, Woo-jae was left feeling conflicted. His friends tried to comfort him, reminding him that in love, there was no absolute right or wrong. No matter the reason for their fight, nothing was more painful than not facing each other directly. Just then, Woo-jae received a message from his mother, asking to meet. Woo-jae's parents had separated when he was young, and he had been raised by his father ever since. His mother had always promised to visit him frequently, but each time, she failed to show up. At first, he wanted to refuse the invitation, but after years of not seeing her, he finally agreed. When he arrived at the meeting place, he saw his mother for the first time in years. They sat down and had a meal together, and afterward, Woo-jae politely bid her farewell. As he was about to leave, his mother suddenly ran after him, calling his name. She admitted that she feared missing this opportunity because she didn't know when they would meet again. She then confessed her regrets. When she left years ago, she should have hugged him one last time. Each time she planned to come back, she lost the courage to face him again. Woo-jae's mother, feeling guilty for repeatedly breaking her promises, finally expressed her remorse to Woo-jae. Hearing her words, Woo-jae suddenly recalled something So-hyun had once told him. At that moment, he finally understood. His mother had always loved him, even if she had been absent. The next day, So-hyun received an audio recording from Woo-jae's radio broadcast. In it, Woo-jae acknowledged that he now understood the true meaning behind So-hyun's past words. He realized that So-hyun had been hiding the truth, not because she wanted to deceive people, but because she lacked the courage to face the pain of revealing it. Listening to the broadcast, So-hyun couldn't hold back her emotions and broke down in tears. As the college entrance exams approached, rumors spread that So-hyun was planning to drop out, especially since she hadn't been coming to school. Meanwhile, Hiram continued spreading stories about So-hyun's alleged bullying. However, just as she was speaking to a group of classmates, Ji suddenly appeared, causing Hi-Rim to falter and stop talking. Meanwhile, at the broadcasting club, Woo-jae gathered the members and announced that they would be hosting a live broadcast that day. When the students wondered who the host would be, Woo-jae simply smiled and said there was no need to worry. The host would be arriving soon. At that moment, So-hyun walked into the room. The night before, she had gone to Woo-jae and confessed everything. She was not the bully, she was the victim. Hearing the truth, Woo-jae had been overwhelmed with emotion and had hugged So-hyun tightly. So-hyun then shared the full story with him, every painful detail she had kept hidden. Determined to set things right, Woo-jae took charge and planned a live broadcast to expose the truth to the entire school. As the broadcast began, Ji turned on the classroom screens, catching Hi-Rim completely off guard. Her face went pale when he saw So-hyun appearing on the screen. So-hyun then spoke. "I am not a bully, I am a victim of school bullying." She recounted how, 2 years ago, on her birthday, she had been invited to KTV by friends to celebrate. But instead of a celebration, she had been subjected to brutal bullying. Afterward, she had kept silent, fearing how people would look at her if they knew. At some point, she stopped caring about being wrongly accused as the bully, because in her mind, being a victim felt even more shameful. But now, So-hyun finally understood, her friends didn't care about rumors. They only wanted to know the truth. So, for the first time, she chose not to run away. She spoke up, not just for herself, but for everyone who had cared about her all this time. At that moment, Ji stepped forward, standing in front of Hi-Rim. Hi-Rim started to panic, but before she could say anything, Ji pulled out her phone and played a video. Hi-Rim's face turned pale. Ji passed the phone around, letting the classmates see the truth for themselves. Under the weight of everyone's stares and Jae's confrontation, Hi-Rim finally broke down and admitted everything. But in her frustration, she lashed out. "You all whispered about So-hyun behind her back, didn't you?" Hearing this, one of the students, furious at the revelation, stepped forward, ready to punch Hi-Rim. But before things could escalate, So-hyun spoke. "Yes, I was afraid," she admitted. "I feared how people would look at me, but I won't run anymore. Because now, I know there are people who truly care about me." For the first time in a long while, a genuine smile appeared on her face. As she stepped out of the broadcasting room, Woo-jae was there waiting. Without a word, he pulled So-hyun into a tight embrace. Not long after, her friend arrived at the broadcasting club, rushing towards So-hyun and wrapping her in a big hug. The other students cheered for her, relieved and happy that she had finally spoken her truth. Woo-jae made the final call, telling Hi-Rim to pack her things and leave the broadcasting club. That weekend, So-hyun and Woo-jae went on their first official date. They had dinner, strolled through the city, and even took photos together, capturing moments of happiness they had fought so hard to reach. That night, for the first time, So-hyun, who had always struggled to express herself, looked at Woo-jae and finally said the words she had been holding back, confessing her feelings. And with that, after everything they had endured, their story of hardship turned into one of new beginnings. On the way home, Ji appeared with So-hyun's favorite food in hand. Just like old times, they sat together in their usual spot, eating and talking. From that night on, they were best friends again. And so, the chapter of this story came to a close. The live broadcast ended. The truth was out. For those who had followed the journey, thank you for your support. Until we meet again.